Welcome to Unmuted by GosuGamers, a show that takes a closer look at the esports world. In every episode, the crews will be diving into the biggest news, hot topics, and tough issues in the competitive gaming industry. But today, we're gonna take two steps back and look at something a little bit more big picture, right? Are we gonna look at gaming and the pandemic, like gaming during the pandemic? What is the role of gaming and esports in general? So yeah, I'm gonna open the floor to everybody in here. What how are you right now? How's your situation in where you are right now? Yeah, before we talk about gaming, how's everybody? How are you, Jared?
Hey, yeah, I'm doing good. Things are a bit spicy in my neck of the woods. Almost like an apocalyptic game, somewhat. Basically Escape from Tarkov. But yeah, uh, otherwise doing well.
I really can't imagine myself in your shoes. I hope everything is fine, and the fact that you can still do this with us, that's a blessing. So yeah. How about Diff? How about you? How's everything?
It's already going better. We are past the big waves of pandemic. We finally are able to go a bit outside and enjoy daylight, sunlight, everything. But yeah, it's good. It's good now. It's been hectic.
All right, and Christy.
Yeah, we're kind of on the same page, I guess, with Div. Things have really slowed down. We're at like single digit cases, new cases in a day. And we can go multiple days without any kind of deaths or anything from it. So there's a lot of, I don't think it's been an official, but a lot of ease in the restrictions and stuff. Everybody out and around, things open more, a lot more kind of like the open air festival things and stuff are starting to happen again. So things are kind of returning back to normal here, I guess. There's a lot of diaspora from all over the rest of Europe that are back in town for the next probably month or so. And I personally have concerns about what that influx from rest of Europe that is having an increase in some of their variants, that it's going to end up maybe resulting in another wave of lockdown or something like that. But right now, at least, we're kind of, we have at least a break, I guess, if nothing else. So that's been a lot nicer, although the weather has been horribly hot and it makes it difficult to go outside anyway. So if it's not one, it's the other. So
Okay, I'm actually envious of you guys. Christy in particular, about having like just single digit cases, right? Like for us in Malaysia, it's like we just hit 12,000 today, and yesterday there was 13,000, and for the past few days it's been like 5 digits all around. It's horrible, and yeah, but let's not dive into that too much. Talking about
and it's just crazy when you think
cases.
it's like a year and a half already. Like this isn't like last year when it started and it's the July of the first year. I mean, we're talking like a year and a half later, and like you guys are still in severe lockdown. We're just easing now, but have a threat of, kind of a backlash or a rebound effect or something. Like this is still so ongoing, and who knows?
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? I mean, like COVID is real. Like, the pandemic is really affecting everyone's life across the world, and everyone, like it or not, like at one stage or a time, we have to lock down at home, or there's a lot of things that we're adjusting in our life, and I feel like it's very interesting. I mean, it's very important for us to talk about like gaming and the pandemic, right? Because based on a lot of like reports that we read, like in particular this one from the ESA report, the entertainment sorry, let me double check again. The Entertainment Software Association report, which we will share the link of the report in the description as well. Like, yeah, I mean, they talk about the essential facts about the video game industry and the effects of like gaming amid pandemic, right? And it's very interesting because I've done a lot of other research as well, not just focusing on this report, but like a lot of reporting from like other news outlet, a lot of like gaming industry reports, non-gaming industry reports about like how do people cope with this change, this huge pandemic that we are experiencing, and a lot of people are actually resorting to gaming. So yeah, I think today we want to talk about this. We want to talk about like how do we will gaming, how does gaming change how we how to say like deal with this pandemic. So anyone want to start to talk about how like have you been like resorting to gaming, or like is how like or not at all, or you're, let's say, focusing on
You're
gardening or
asking a
something
bunch
to yeah.
you're asking a bunch of gamers if we resorted to gaming during a pandemic. Most of us are unaware that we weren't allowed to leave because we don't leave anyway. um, all jokes aside and everything, other than that, we've been doing this our whole lives or planning this our whole lives type of thing. I do think that one of the things about gaming, you hear things like, oh, dead game example for Dota or something. And then during the pandemic, there was a rise again in the player base. And it really is a lot because you have a casual gamer who now has a lot more time on their hands, so they can grind it out more. You have just the curious kind of gamer. Families maybe picking it up as something to do together because what else do you do when you have multiple kids or, people locked in the same house? Especially when you don't have maybe access to even deliveries. There was a lot of delay in things with shipping and delivery, so you can't necessarily maybe order board games or things like this as easily. It was a very convenient way to turn to, occupying your time, increasing maybe some bonding or looking for something new to do, developing a hobby. Not everybody wanted to do like sourdough baking or something,
I tried that,
so
yeah.
I did too.
Yeah.
Banana
It-
bread.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's we I think in the beginning we all thought like, oh, now everything we need to get done we can get done, and after about a week or two it was like, okay, this isn't going to end and I'm just not going to keep doing these
Yep.
productive kind of things. So but yeah, I think it's just a matter of incredible convenience, gaming offered. It was right there, it was in your home. Most people had either a PC or a gaming console or mobile phones or things like that they could then, look at, download. The economy was hit rough, but not, there's a lot of free to play. There's a lot of cheaper versions of games and stuff like that out there. So I think that it really fueled the gaming industry more so than almost anything else probably out there industry wise.
You have to, us humans are, some sort of social animals, if you know what I mean. And we need connection, no matter how much we deny that. Even the most introvert person will need to actually exchange some words or something with somebody else. And that's why games were also a very good platform for these people that are really, really introverts, and they are not outgoing, they don't need face-to-face time with somebody, but they still need to, express feelings through something. And gaming was always the first tool, I guess, for many of us. And in pandemic, yeah, when you're forced to spend pretty much the entire day, week, months. We had in Romania 3 months straight when we were not allowed to do anything outside. You wouldn't be able to even go to your basic grocery shopping. So how much movies can you watch, or how much reading can you do in one day? You need something else at some point. Or as you guys just said, how much baking can you do? And at some point you realize you can't eat it all, and things like that.
The pandemic weight gain is real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and games are like great time sink, right? You can sync like thousands of hours easily, depending on the type of games. And I'm sure Jared, you have a lot to share about this. So what's your take on this, Jared?
Um, well, I mean, the thousands of hours definitely have that one over time. Yeah, I mean, look, as as has been said, there's only so much of something you can do, and then you need social interaction. Myself, I have never been someone who's outwardly social. If I go out, I'm not like I don't go out for very long, and it's not very often, and I just want to get back to my computer most of the time. Um, the pandemic almost kept it exactly the same for me in the fact that I couldn't go out this time. It was because, it wasn't allowed, and I got to spend time on my computer, which was great. Unfortunately, at the same time, it also, affected the esports side of things, of gaming, where crowds and stuff couldn't be seen at tournaments. So, all the tournaments were hit by that. That is completely separate. Um, but yeah, I think it's gaming is definitely, you can see the way it's fueled um, sort of a safe space for people during the pandemic. I won't say a complete safe space because we know the gaming online communities, but it is a place where people get away. It's where we've all gotten away from things in our lives and forgotten them for a few hours. And it's the same now, where there's a massive pandemic going on, and we just use gaming to get away from it. Um, Not to forget it completely, but just to take our minds off things.
I think it's a really important point you bring up because, the pandemic time has, there's reports coming out now, but I mean, I think we all kind of knew it without having to read, that there was a lot of mental health issues that have been on the rise because of the pandemic, because of the isolation, because of the high anxiety, the stress, the doom and gloom, doom scrolling constantly, the news, the bombardment, of all these negative things, uncertainties, the various stressors. People lost jobs, people didn't know, there was a lot of uncertainty, people lost loved ones. Things were just really, really rough. And I think that gaming offered that outlet, to kind of not just as an escape, but to funnel some of that anxiety, to focus on some of that energy, and also to connect with other people in a way that wasn't just going to be about the pandemic, or to talk about it more. It was a way to enjoy and find something that took them out of those emotions or those feelings, or their own thoughts about it, that might have been ruminating or spinning around and stuff. And that is a really important factor, because gaming offered a piece for all of those different things.
Yeah. And it's such a great like social lifeline, right? Remember like in the beginning of the pandemic, when there's so many people that venture into like all the social games as well, like like Among Us and stuff like that, that you can have like genuine conversation with strangers as well. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna talk about your life right away, but there is some sort of like connection. And like, as you mentioned earlier, Christy, and like we sometimes you just need an outlet to just let it go, just or whatever like frustration or whatever sort of like mental state that you're at. You just needed something to do. You just need to do, and yeah, and gaming offered so many choices, so many type of like genres, and yeah, as we also mentioned earlier, outlet that you can just go on a journey and just forget about like the real life issues for that few hours sometimes. So yeah, it's definitely great for a lot of us like who are already gamers. Yeah, I mean obviously it is something that we will resort to kind of like hope. And yeah, but at the same time I also learned that there are a lot of new gamers or non-gamers that also like pick this up, right? Like personally, do you think um Do you think like this is like like a lot more industries will see like, okay, gaming, it does have the potential, and then they will try to come in more and like bring in all the like corporatism and all the capitalism stuff in. What's your take on this? Yeah.
You mean like Netflix now wants to put the gaming platform and stuff on there and
Yep.
get a piece of the pie?
Yes, with
I think
Netflix.
I think gaming has always been a cash cow in a lot of people's minds for various reasons for years, whether it was way in the beginning, tournament organizers started saying, hey, wait, we can make money and do this and have events. And remember of tournaments that thought that it was going to be easy or thought that it was going to be cheap, wanted to jump in, wanted to get a piece of it, and ended up sinking. Whether they didn't pay out, whether they were frauds, whether they were just in over their heads, there was a time where we saw a lot of the tournament organizers jumping on the boat. We saw a lot of that also with esports organizations as a whole, people that created esports and wanted to create their own team, their own organization, same kind of thing. They thought this was going to be this wonderful cash cow. You see all these like esports reports coming out. Gaming is, going to be a $49 billion industry in 5 years, and they inflate these numbers where they like extrapolate it from various areas, and it's not really a true representation of the money or what esports does have and how it kind of flows and everything. And you get these people with grand ideas, jumping in. And I guess now, we went through organizations, we went through tournament organizations. Now we're going to go through various platforms and businesses saying, wait, we should offer gaming because look, even during times of a pandemic, we can make money, we can capitalize on this. So I think, it's always been as a cash cow through the years, just in what way it's always just kind of changing. And I think some of us are kind of used to seeing this, oh, who's jumping on the boat now, who's jumping on the bandwagon, and then kind of falls away, or sometimes they stay. But I think we see waves of this every so often.
So my next question would be, would you subscribe to Netflix games?
I guess
it's hard to tell. It's very, you don't really know what they will offer right now, but I think most people, it'll be hard for them to enter this market, although everyone watches, Netflix at home for the movies and TV series, but you already have like Steam, Epic Store, so many other, offering the same thing. You have your libraries there already.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm gonna jump in the Netflix. I really don't know.
Yeah, because you have all the services that are supplied by the consoles as well, like the Xbox Live. You have the PS Plus. Then you have like the Nintendo stuff as well. So yeah, you're right. It's not gonna be easy. But how about you, Jared? Would you consider something like that? Netflix.
I think like Dev said, there's so many platforms already. There's so many of these programs, and if we just think about, the whole issue with the Epic Games launcher and how people are, you still have Steam, there's Origin, there's Battle.net, all these platforms. Having another one on top of that, what exactly are Netflix bringing to the table that's going to be different in that manner? What there needs to be something special that they have there. It has to be a huge drawing card. Who knows? Maybe Dota 3 is coming and Netflix are on board already.
Wow.
I don't know.
To me, it's more like, we don't know much about what Netflix wants to do with this, but it's all. When I saw the news yesterday, the first thing that popped into my mind was the Mixer story.
Yes.
How they wanted to compete with Twitch, with YouTube, and Microsoft and everything, and how badly it went. I hope it's not. We won't see a repeat of that. We have just to wait and see what Netflix wants.
My guess is. Yeah, my personal prediction about like Netflix venture into games, I don't think they're gonna be another like the next Steam or Origin, right? I feel like they might venture more into the social, if not casual gaming. So they will they might their competitor would be something like, let's say, Google Arcade, or like with all the Apple games. That's my guess. But yeah, I might be wrong, to be honest. Yeah.
Jackbox games would, I guess, would do pretty well because Netflix
Yeah.
is it's something that like for families, you know, you have
Correct.
share accounts with families and everything. If you have Jackbox games there to do once,
Yeah, that's what
spend
I
some
was
time in
gonna
the
say,
evening.
is that, Netflix is going to be good for that casual or curious kind of gamer. I'm not so sure any official or hardcore or committed gamer is going to see, themselves switching over or so easily, or even if they do it, it will be just like a casual thing they do sometimes with friends. But I don't know if the market of the casual family kind of gamer will be enough to be able to sustain it, though, to make it competitive in any way. It's just maybe more of like adding an additional piece onto their platform that makes them more unique than, say, Hulu or something, where people will go to Netflix as a whole, because they offer all of these different things. They can increase their price as a whole for a full package, things like this. I don't know that they'll necessarily try to jump in, like you said, Div, I don't know that they'll try to jump in to be competitive for the real gamer, like the Mixer thing and everything. They tried to jump in on something that was already established, already big, already being done with the same product, so to speak, like overall trying to hit the same market. And it takes a lot to have to pull us away from what we're comfortable with and what we already know. And, that's why I think that's why we don't see a lot of success in the people. I mean, we even had, it wasn't just Mixer, it was Hitbox a while back, all of these things, because, we get stuck in our ways. We get in our comfort zone, especially as gamers. We get stuck in our ways. We don't like change. I mean, how many times when, Valve or a company will offer a change in how they're going to present something, the immediate response is, oh, what are you doing? And so it's
Well, in the end, I think it's about how you make people to spend the most of their time or to never leave your platform. So if I'm a Netflix subscriber, I'm already spending at least a few hours, let's say, during the pandemic. I mean, I'm binge watching some TV series, then I'm moving to some perhaps movie that they have there. And if I'm getting bored with that, why not just play some game with my mom or somebody in the house on the same platform? I don't have to, shut down the Netflix, go to Steam.
If you're sitting with your family watching a movie and, you want to do something else, you can just switch to this instead and you can still carry on playing. I think that could be a very nice angle for Netflix. Hey, contact us. We got the money for you. Hire us.
And they can build into the algorithm to suggest, right? For example, like, they can do something like, oh, you just watch Hunger Games. Would you like to try Four Guys now? Something along that line. Yeah, and it's really just like, for them to do that. I don't think it's that hard for them. Okay, speaking of,
but also,
go ahead.
During the pandemic, I think we saw a lot of rise in young gamers, kids, not just young, but like 6, 7, 8 years old and stuff, where previously parents kind of always shied away, oh, screen time or this and this. It became, my kid is suffering, my kid needs something, they need a break, they need distraction, they need interaction, they need all these things. And so we saw a rise in that, and to cut them off is going to be hard now. The kids got used to being able to game, to play, and doing that. There's also a lot more like educational kind of games and things out there, and something like Netflix will be able to offer that, which I think parents will see as, especially because Netflix will have like parental control, things like this, that'll make it easy. And again, on a platform that the parents are already comfortable with knowing how to navigate through. So they're not like all of a sudden having to install something new, learn a whole new platform, which can be intimidating. It's kind of an easy transition. but like, Minecraft came out with that coding game that they had and things like that. Like there's so many more like things now, educational, that parents will say, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I can, see myself letting my kid continue to play on these areas. Or schools were doing interactive games and things like that. I know I saw a lot like Zoom classes for kids would play Among Us together or something like that as part of like their online classes. Just, normally you have recess or gym or something like that, and they were looking for ways to get their class to kind of bond or to have fun or to break some of that tension and everything, doing these types of things. And I think that because that's another area we saw kind of grow, I think that something like Netflix, it's going to be easy to incorporate that because the family is already established somewhat of a precedent that they're letting their younger kids play now or have explored it. So
you would normally develop a kid's, teamwork or strategical thinking, or through various activities, group activities outside the school, or in pandemic you can't do that. So of course the games were the first option where a class can work together to a common goal, or have to solve some sort of puzzle or things like that. And yeah, it totally makes sense for a lot of games, non-competitive games, a lot of the commercial part to have such a boom. Yeah, if you remember, in 2018 we had the economic crisis that hit the US and Europe and I don't know what other parts of the world, and a lot of people were out of jobs and nobody was hiring, so everyone was at home, pretty much in a similar distress like we are now with the coronavirus. And gaming was one of the two industries that really boomed back then, and it made a lot of sense. You have nothing to do with your life you have no perspective for the next 6 months or 1 year. You will just invest your time in grinding something. You would level up a character in WoW or whatever MMO. You would grind your MMR, and I believe there were a lot of already established games that had an increase of player base. But right now, what's happening is that all these small companies and casual games that would suit a 16-year-old or a 7-year-old, or that will connect generations, had really their shot during this pandemic. It's funny. I mean,
games as well.
Yeah, this pandemic, for instance, I finally decided to buy switches, controllers. I haven't had that since I was 16 years old, and I played Spiritfarer. Basically, I bought them for that, and I was amazed how genuine and how good that game is for any young person, for a kid to understand some things about life that are harsh and hard to explain. And yeah, it touched me a lot. It impressed me, and I recommend it to all my friends that have kids. I was super beautiful, and I think that happened to a lot of people.
we bought a Switch too.
Yeah, and then
Same.
I bought It Takes Two, and I played it with my fiance. Although our relationship is pretty good, it didn't need a fix, but the game is also super cool for casual gamers, couples, and things like that. And only with what was released in I don't know, the last year, you can tell that the need has a bit changed from like 5 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, since we're talking about handheld consoles, I just want to drop it real quick. What is your take on Steam Deck? Yay or nay?
It's not bad. It's not bad, and the fact that they allow you to play games from other platforms, you don't have to really only Steam. That's super smart and good.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good idea. It's not. It's taken what So let's say Switch took from Sony with the PSP, and Switch went over and above, and it has. Switch is amazing. Steam, or the Steam Deck, has done what both those companies didn't, and make that platform open to anyone. Basically, it's a handheld device that you can play PC games on, so your normal Steam library games, and then anything else you really want to. It's not just confined to only Valve games or only Steam games, things like that. Whether it will do well or not, that remains to be seen. I don't know if people will put more money into something that's handheld after you have a phone already. The classic words
The
of
thing with these consoles, or whatever you want to call them, I see them as a perfect tool for when you're traveling long
Yeah.
distances. And if I want to play something from my couch, I think a controller and I don't know, a PlayStation or whatever Xbox will do better than having a small screen. Because if I want that, I also have the phone, as Jared just mentioned. I don't know if this is the perfect time to release that, but it looks cool
and
as
that's
concept.
where the Switch does so well, is because you can connect the two controllers to being like one controller and still have it up on your screen. So you're still on your couch, it's still wireless, it's still on your screen, which is big, you can still sit. So there's so many different ways to play the Switch.
The Steam Deck does the same.
You need to purchase the dock separately.
The dock is separate. Yeah, that was the one thing. I don't think it's a bad move. I just don't know if it's the right move right now. Like Div said, it might be the wrong time to be bringing that out.
Okay, now let's bring back the topic back to like gaming and the pandemic, right? So I just want to ask like each of you, like I would say this is quite a personal question, but like, do you have like a go-to game, when you are, let's say, like distressed or whatever, like for you, do you have like go-to game for specific purpose even?
I'm still banned in Dota. I think I have one more
Until
week,
when?
so I think it's like one more week, yeah.
Okay.
For the past 10 years or so, Dota has been part of my routine, daily routine, for a very long time. And actually still now, I would admit, the first thing I'm doing in the morning is have a coffee and a Dota game. That's how my morning starts. Of course, unless it's something that you need to work on, like you have a major or something else. But yeah, when I have the mornings, I can start like that. I wake up at 7 a.m. and from 7 to 9 or to 8, it's just 1 or 2 Dota games. Before that, I had the World of Warcraft, where I spent all my youth. I don't know why. I don't regret it. I made a lot of friends. This is another thing with games. I made so much friends in my WoW time. People that, I don't know, 15 years old, years later are still our friends. They are not from this country. We visit every time we can. We do Christmas to each other's houses, or across the borders. That is probably the most awesome part from spending your time in an MMO or a game where you make connections like that.
I married one of those.
See? Yeah, if I'm to be honest, the relationship with my fiance, we met like 15 years old back, and the first game we played was WoW, World of Warcraft, and I think our relationship solidified in that we played a lot of arenas together. He was a warlock, I was a paladin.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we had to stop playing together any competitive game at some point. We are not playing Dota together, for instance. We can't do that.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why we played It Takes Two.
Yeah, okay. I think for myself, it has been World of Warcraft, well, MMOs in general for years. While I have lots of hours in Dota. Dota is the game where I will play it for, well, especially nowadays, I will play it for a game or 2 games, and then I am too angry to do anything else but sit and play something to calm me down. And that has always been World of Warcraft, or as I said, MMOs in general. I've gone through every MMO on the market, and only two have really stuck, and that's been World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14. Um, the I don't know. I like to have said the connections and the people you make, like especially now during a pandemic, you can see that, like, you maybe you have them on Discord or something like that, and you used to like play together 8 years ago, and suddenly you get this message like, "Hey, how you doing? How's things going?" Like that's it's special because you might be you might have never met this person. You might have only ever spoken like twice. You might have raided with them. You could have done arena with them. But, someone that you've just known in an online capacity is just checking up to see how is everything going. Everyone knows there's like a pandemic going on. Let's see how people that we made these connections with over the years are doing. And I think that is something huge. And I think that's why gaming in all senses is flourishing at the moment.
Yeah, I would like to add on to like the whole experience of like the connection that you form with your MMO guildies, like your WoW guildies or even your Final Fantasy like friends. This is very special because like you technically save the world countless time together with them alongside you embark on like countless time of like epic journey, and you went through the grind with them countless hours, like to farm for materials, to like try the bosses, died countless time as well, and you've gone through the ups and down, and when we are experiencing the like similar, like I would say, like dark path in our real life, like they are always there. When you go back into the game, sometimes it's just a simple like, hey, how are you? It just kind of lighten my day. Yeah, I like Div and Jared. I'm a WoW junkie myself. I still play classic. I still play the Burning Crusade right now. Not as active as I would like to be, but it's okay. I still log in once in a while. But for me, my go-to game right now, if I do want to calm myself down, actually would be, I would say, it's all your like auto chess variants. Like, you know, I play the Hearthstone Battlegrounds. I used to play auto chess a lot in Dota. And then until they made Underlords, I couldn't quite get, I couldn't quite get it. I don't like it. But yeah, but the other variants, I tried pretty much all the auto chess variants. And yeah, to me, it's kind of like playing chess. And I like chess. I like really, like tactical games. I like board games and stuff. So yeah, Battlegrounds, like to me, it just comes like a second nature. So I can just sit there and just like, yeah, I'll play around, and while I can still work at the same time, but you do have that windows, that where you can let them auto run and battle. So there I can still look at Discord, I can still check on progresses, I can still reply emails. It's quite I would say convenient game for me. Christy, yourself,
Yeah.
aside from Dota that you're banned.
That I'm banned for now. I'm kind of the opposite. Like I love to do the co-op games with a party, and with friends and things like that. But if I'm not in a group, I hate playing them because I get so much anxiety, like performance anxiety. I'm not great. And I like it's okay, Dota, for example, right? I play every hero support. I play support. I mean, God, it's so nice that you don't have to buy wards all the time. I can finally buy boots now, things like this. But like I get so much anxiety, like I'm going to let my team down. It's going to be my fault if we lose, things like this. So when I'm looking to unwind, it's not games like this. For me, it's more of like the solo, just kind of mindless farming, Minecraft, Stardew Valley, now Genshin Impact, like these are where I turn to for just de-stressing, letting go, getting lost in my own world. And maybe that has to do with, the fact that like my rest of my life and time is always around and with so many other people, coordinating constantly, like, being very social, whether it's professional and work related or family, things like that. And so when I finally have the time, I'm looking to be alone. That might be a bit of the difference, but yeah, I love playing co-op games and everything, MMO games, if I'm in a party. Even Overwatch, things like that. The second you put me alone, I start getting anxious and afraid that I'm going to ruin everyone else's experience. And
This is
I
Dota all about, just ruin everyone's life.
yeah,
That's
you know,
why
No
I
matter
wish-
it's your team or the other one.
report.
and you know, it's funny. I wish I could embrace
joking.
that. No, I wish I could embrace the fact that like I can't do any worse than these people who are legitimately breaking their items and going down mid and throwing and everything. Like I'm not doing any worse than that, you know. But I still have this. I missed my spell. Oh my god! What? Okay. True
Yeah, I have
story. True story. Wait, I have been banned from forbidden to play Bane. Garda will not let me play Bane when in Dota because I sleep the wrong people all the time at the wrong times. Like I just don't have a game sense for this hero and I do it wrong. And I have a ban on it. I'm not allowed to play because of exactly that.
Are you sure that he hasn't sent an email to Valve to ban you for 3 months?
I know.
Maybe he's the one who initiated the ban.
No,
Well,
I
he
get
did initiate the ban, but
Yeah.
I get the anxiety of having to perform when in a team game. We have some of my closest friends. They are a couple, and they are both playing Dota. They both played WoW. They are great gamers, both, you know. But she's very afraid of playing public games on the ladder in Dota.
I don't have a rank.
I don't know. I don't think she played more than 5 games like that, and she's always playing with bots. Like I don't know, it's been 7 years or something like that, and I see her still playing with bots.
Same. I don't play ranked. I don't even touch that button because
But she doesn't even play. I mean, not ranked, but you know, the normal games.
Non-ranked, yeah.
Non-ranked, yeah.
When
we discuss with her every day. It's fine. It's fine. You're playing with us. We are not getting mad if you. No. So yeah.
Garter and Vigos taught me how to play Dota, and I, you know, had no idea what I was doing, and I would lane with Garter, and finally he turned around and he was like, said to Vigos, he's like, you just lane with her. I can't deal with it. I can't play with her. I can't be anywhere on the same side of the map with her. Just take her. And I was like, oh my God. And I was probably one of the last times we played together because it's you know, it's just not good. It doesn't work.
Most people get pretty frustrated playing WoW with me if it's just, you know, me and someone else, because I'm very bossy with what I want done. So if you don't do it, I do get rather perturbed. And so a lot of the time, people won't do 2v2 arena with me, because unless they're like a very much stronger personality than me and know what they're doing, I'm going to get really annoyed as soon as we lose.
Are you a raid leader, Jared? Yeah.
I used to be, but not anymore.
So bossy even for that. They demoted
Yeah,
him.
well, I mean, I was also captain. I was captain of the Dota team, so you know that went well. Back in Dota 1 days, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, is that even when you're playing with a group and for fun, you know, if you've got a player in your team that is on a professional level or takes it very serious, it's still really hard as a group to play with that person. Hence why I don't play with Garter. So
do you know what game has probably the most awesome community? And I never seen a raid where people with disagree or not follow what the raid leader says, and just the community is so mature and so nice. EVE Online.
Yeah.
That's a next
You're
level
right, yeah.
game, and that's a next level MMO. I'm very sorry that I can't play it, and I don't have the nerves and the patience and the time to learn everything. My fiance plays it for a very long time now. And
Yeah, I
I'm
think-
mesmerized all the
Similar
time,
stories,
just listening to the raid, you know, comms. It's like, wow, this will never happen in WoW. This will never happen in Dota. Not in 100 years now.
do you think because
Yeah.
it takes so much time?
Yes, because of the
and
time that you put
patience,
into that game.
Yeah, it tends to have a more mature kind of player base or something then.
Yeah, they
'Cause
have
I've heard
mature
that too
players,
about
and
it.
yeah, it's just awesome. It's awesome, and I'm super frustrated that I
Yeah.
can't learn, or I don't have time and the nerves to do it.
Because I think the learning curve is quite high for that game, right? So if you have to go through that sort of learning curve to like master, a lot of things, to understand how things work, you kind of really get the game. You have a certain level of understanding. So everybody is in sync in a way. Yeah, not like the, let's say, like WoW or even Dota. Sometimes you just need to go. Is the accessibility is different as compared to EVE Online. You just go in and just screw everything up, and and there's no, I would say, no way to punish you. But for EVE Online, in a way, they can just like attack you. There is consequences. Yeah. All right. Now, I mean, we also talk about all these like potential, I would say, effects, and the thing is that we are all gamers for many years, so we kind of know where to draw the line. We kind of know, how to play with that. Let's say, if I can't play with my partner, then I'm not gonna play with him or her. Yeah, that's great because we kind of gone through that phase. But we are still in the pandemic. We are still locked down in the same space with this person, like it or not. And what I'm trying to bring up here is like the hostility. Sorry, I something wrong with my tongue. But yeah, the hostility and toxicity in games. I don't know if we will actually amplify during this like pandemic, because we, like, a lot of us are really like depressed, or if not like in I would say like bad shape, right? And with all this like negativity that exists in the game, when sometimes you just couldn't blur that line, do you think that it will amplify that, or do you think that we are fine? What's your take
It
on this? Yeah.
it really depends on the games, I
Mm.
guess. For Dota, it's probably true, but in Dota you always have the mute button, the mute all, which I'm actually using since it was put there. Mute all chat. No, for instance, I'm playing now also in pandemic. I reactivated my Guild Wars account because I just can't. I don't want to go into details, but World of Warcraft it's simply not the game for me anymore. It's been like that since a long time ago. So I reactivated Guild Wars, which was also a dead game. I mean, this is what I knew about it. It's a dead game, and actually, it's full of people. It's not that dead. And yeah, they seem nicer as a community there, from compared to what I remember from WoW. Uh, I guess it really depends on the game, the community it has.
I think that's true. I think it does depend on the game and the people playing it. Look, if you just think of gaming from over the years, you see that people always say, "Hey, Dota players are toxic. Hey, League of Legends players are toxic." Um, it's all it's not just the game there. I think that's just the gameplay and how people end up being in those games. Um, whereas, yes, I mean the WoW community uh, over the years has definitely become worse and worse. But lately, maybe since they brought out Classic, um, at least online, there's been a lot less of that toxicity felt. And I mean, that's on Classic and on retail. I haven't seen as much of that hostility and that toxicity in either of the, well, I mean, it wasn't really there in Classic back in the day. It was more like, the Baron's chat where, um, people are PvPing and yeah, it gets a bit heated.
With WoW, I remember, I mean, the biggest dramas I had were guild related. There was always a drama, and it would end up really bad with someone not being picked up so much for the raids, especially if you are a high competitive guild on the server. People not getting assigned to raids, or being I don't know.
It's usually about rotation or loot. It's usually one of these two. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Nowadays, in retail at least, it's become more about why aren't you taking X class into this dungeon? What is wrong with you? Blah blah blah. Like this class is doing really well, and it's just that's where it gets to, I guess. But I think in the pandemic, at least, it's, I don't know, haven't really seen it becoming worse. I feel like people are more calm online in most games. I mean, if you look at things like Call of Duty, with Warzone, they have that hot mic thing. So when you kill someone, you get to pick up what they're saying. And I mean, with that's can be pretty bad at times. And you can hear the anger in someone's voice when you kill them. But at the same time, you know that it's not like this vengeful kind of violence, or, it's not extreme toxicity in a game. You're not sitting there for half an hour bashing your keyboard, telling someone how they did something wrong while sitting AFK in your spawn. So I think there's two sides to it. I think that, yes, I think the pandemic could have made people a little bit worse online because there's newer players. But I think for the most part, a lot of the older players are actually helping newer players, or seeing that there's a lot of newer players and nurturing that in a lot of games. I'm just thinking about Final Fantasy now, and how there's a mass like exodus towards Final Fantasy 14, and a lot of the old guard players, those of us who have been there for years, are sitting going, no, don't feel bad. Like, we had no idea what the hell was going on as well when this game came out. Just do this, you do this, and yeah, there we go. It's a weird swing, but it also definitely goes to both extremes. I think that's where it comes down to the person playing. Like, are you going to get pissed off with this person screwing up this tactic, or are you just going to help them?
All right. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm gonna like move the conversation into the realm of esport right now. So my next question, I think, is about like, can the whole esport system sustain, long term with just online tournaments, with like pandemic is still going on, right? Yes, there are some tournaments are already like, they're planning for offline, like, likely there will be like offline and with audience as well. But in the bigger picture, in the grand scheme of things, do you think esports will still be doing well? Because up to this point, yeah, we see that there's increased numbers in viewerships, in like player base and all that. But in the long run, let's say if we have to go through with COVID for the next 2 years per se, whether like it or not, what
It
is
will
your
be
take on
harder
this?
and harder to follow competitions online, because online is forcing you to regional, local competition. I was already fed up during 2020 to see, I mean, how many times can I see Team Secret versus OG, or Team Secret versus Nima, or Team Secret versus Liquid? That was all that happened 1 year. And I was like, oh, okay, I got it. I want Team Secret or OG versus LGD. I just wanted that. And please don't bring it back for the next 2 years. I think people will just, I mean, the interest will just fade away the longer it takes, this pandemic and this online thing. It will be less. The way the regional leagues in Dota, and actually in League, because they have pretty much the same system, right? With regional competition that leads to a LAN. That regional competition builds, builds excitement and interest for the people to see how the best team in one region will fare against the best team in the other region. But when there is no LAN on the horizon, and the regional thing is all that you have, you might just prefer to play the game instead of watching the same matchup repeating on and on and on and on.
I agree. And I don't think it's just also about the matchup. It's also about the caliber of the games, how serious people take it or don't take it, who participates in those games. There's a lot more factors than just exactly the regional to regional, but I agree that's a huge thing, especially for the fans. I think that in the beginning, it took a really hard hit. There wasn't even the regional. We had problems with players who were playing for teams in other regions, had to go back home, or were not able to compete with their teams. I think at this point, we've established somewhat of a routine and a rhythm for how it's being dealt with, some workarounds, things like that. we even had our two majors on LAN, even though they didn't have spectators. We managed to be able to pull it off and bring that. TI is still, you know, in the works, delayed as it is. It's still something that's there. Same with the other, you know, divisions of games and everything is going on. We've kind of moved forward now. I don't see that we'll go backwards into only regional based and only online, but I'm not so sure how much still we can rely on having spectators at those lands or opening it up even further. I think that the lands will still be a little bit more prestigious, I guess. We won't see lands. Example, ESL did their tournament, it was still online, even though they technically are a tournament organizer that does well in organizing lands, has multiple lands, probably could have organized having most of those teams be on some kind of LAN setting in a studio somewhere and everything, and they still didn't. It was still just online. I think we can still have the LANs will see, the tournaments will see, they'll be more prestigious. So that means there'll be less of them, which impacts both prize pool monies, talent, things like this. But I think that we shouldn't see us going back to only regional events and only online events. I think that's something that we figured out how to move away from with modifications and adjustments, at least, or at least I hope we've learned how to do that.
I was pretty surprised during the pandemic to see that in Dota, they didn't actually go for the most, the more crazier tournament formats. I mean, we had Midas modes and things like that years before the pandemic. And during the pandemic, it was only Blast that tried something different. I think I would watch that in you know, if you are forced into a lockdown and you have to, you know, organize something, you have to keep the community and the scene active. I would probably be more interested into watching something crazy, twisted, instead of watching the same 4, 5, 6 teams going head to head for a year.
Yeah,
For the
Yeah.
same
agree with that,
stake,
yeah.
you know.
And there's
definitely
also
agree.
the option of being able to alternate what server a game will be played on. So for example, you know, you can have a South American team and say a European team play if you're going to alternate which server. So they'll both have equal amounts of time of lag or some ping adjustments and everything else to kind of even things out. If there's not, like, say, example, DPC points on the line, you know, which makes it obviously a priority to make sure that everything is equal across the board. But if there's nothing like that on the line, I don't see why we can't also look at other ways for incorporating interregional play for some things.
Yeah, I mean, I played most of my ranked Dota. I actually played all of my ranked Dota at 200 plus ping because I refused to play local, and then, you know, the local servers actually got taken down. So I was right in that. But yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, why can't you just have yeah, like you say, if it's not for a competitive base, if it's not, like, I suppose at the end of the day, it's still going to be a prize pool, and so people are going to say, oh well, they had the upper hand and that's why they got the better share of the prize pool. I think that's what it comes down to. But I think that those tournaments like the Blast and Midas mode could easily do that, because the tournaments are known for just being about fun and just, you know, messing around, having these really weird modes. You could even, well, on the Dota side of things, the arcade games in Dota are still there, and they have a smallish base, but, you know, you could just, you know, throw that into a tournament just to break up the entire seriousness of a tournament, even if it is a regional tournament. Have these like all-star matches, but, you know, the regional teams put like players, mix them around, and throw them into a game of Pudge Wars or anything really, and just it doesn't have to be for anything. It can just be half an hour of what the hell is going on my screen right now. These players playing together.
Yeah, we kind of forgot about the entertaining part, which is
Yes.
a big thing for this industry, right? And when the pandemic hit, everyone was just obsessed with there are no competitions, what we did. And when we kind of focused on that.
I think it was more of a panic reaction than
Yes.
anything, people just kind of, I mean, even tournament organizers, it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And nobody knew what to expect. Again, going back, nobody knew, oh, this 2-week lockdown turned into a 1-year lockdown type of things, so it was really hard. But I do think we've kind of adjusted. Even ESL, I remember, was going to bring over, was it Thunder Predator? One of the South American teams. Not because it was a LAN, but to at least get them in the region so that they could compete with the other teams that were in the region and stuff. So there's lots of ways that things could be, or piggybacking off of a LAN, that was happening so that they could have the teams who were still there in Ukraine being able to play, from China, the teams from China and stuff like that, to still be able to participate because they were still in the region, piggybacking off of somebody else's event, so to speak, to have your teams be available to play for a region, even though it's all online. I think we've been able to establish there's lots of ways, whether it's the entertainment value games like we were talking about, or ways to kind of play with ping, or ways to have just some of the teams on a LAN, in, because of course there is the factor of, if you're not having a LAN, if you're having a LAN but without spectators, there's a cost factor and things like that that change economically. What can you afford? What can't you afford? What can you do? But I do think that there's a lot, we've seen that there's a lot of ways that we can work around and we can do it and we can move forward. We have also vaccinations now. We have a lot more of the certain countries opening up more for travel. I don't foresee, unless it really hits hard again like it did initially, that we have to revert back to what it was that first year. I think we're kind of past that. I think we've seen we can do lots of other things. And I think that no matter what, we'll be able to see our esports competitive portion continue to flourish or rise or bounce back, if again.
Yeah.
I think
go
with
ahead,
that,
Jerry.
sorry. I think with that, I think esports has taken a big hit in that exact sense, though, because of not having crowds and fans. While it may not, I think we've spoken about this before on one of our unmuteds, where we spoke about how the crowd definitely fuels certain teams, whether they are cheering or booing. It doesn't matter. Some teams live for hearing that crowd and feeling that vibration from people cheering around them. And that is the one thing where we need to have spectators again, and it needs to happen at these esports events. And we're looking at TI here, and a TI without spectators is going to be fairly sad if that was the case. Thankfully, hopefully, it's not.
Yeah, I hope I hope there'll be live audience for sure at TI. I really hope. But they're gonna go back to the whole point about looking at various modes that are more focused on the entertainment value. I mean, Dota 2 in particular, this is the right time, right? We have about 3 months of void to fill up the space, right? I think if you're an event organizer, they are watching this right now. Yeah, this is a good opportunity to really have some fun, invite teams from across regions. Yeah, there will be ping, but so what? I mean, let's just fill up the time. Yeah.
I mean, we're about to go through potentially a 3-month drought, so to speak, of a lot. Maybe we'll have 1 or 2 pop up, but teams are going to be, will we need to practice for TI? Or they're going to be like, we don't want to drop our strats, or give away any ideas of what we're doing, or you have your tier 2 teams and your lower tier 1 teams who are already, I mean, I would venture to guess that we have less than 50% of those teams still intact, without roster changes or being disbanded, so instead of worrying about it being competitive, if it becomes more entertainment wise and oriented, I think you'll see a lot more teams or stacks willing to participate and join in those, because they don't have to worry about saving strats, taking away from their scrim time, that their team is disbanded or they're just a stack or anything like this. I think that we have a opportunity to see fun things during this time, and especially we don't even know when and if the patch will drop or how that's going to work, all these kinds of uncertainties. Yeah, I think this is the perfect time. We can see a lot of it because we'll get a lot more team involvement by doing it on that approach than your traditional competitive.
Okay. All right. On that note, I think we're about to end our episode today. Yeah, but before we end it, just would like to open the floor as like if anyone of you have anything that you want to say to our fellow gamers, amid the pandemic, that about anything at all, like to cope, with whether it's gonna be any sort of personal distress or like mental state or just like negativity in general. Any words to like our fellow gamers?
Look, yeah, the pandemic is insane. It is something that none of us expected, and mental health issues are global. If you're playing a game and you're enjoying the game, and someone tries to tell you how to play the game, or starts whispering you or starts messaging you in all chat, mute buttons exist. Just don't listen to them. Don't reply. Don't respond. Mute. It is that simple to get away from that. Over and above that, if that person carries on and in some way finds you and carries on doing so, just block them. It doesn't help you in any way to listen to negativity when you're doing something that is ultimately positive for you.
And on that exact, following up on that, and on that exact note, we have an article which will be in the links below that addresses mental health issues in gaming with the resources. If people are feeling like they have more anxiety or depression or stress, either because of the pandemic or through their gaming, or they just happen to be gamers and are going through these experiences on the side and stuff, we've included some resources for folks, some tips, some tricks, some resources, people to reach out to and everything. So definitely take a look at those if you're falling into one of those categories or know someone who is.
Yeah, just stay positive and don't let anyone tell you who is better at one game or other, or at wording or whatever. The market is big, and there's a lot of games out there that can keep you busy and make you forget about what's happening around. Stay positive and it will pass at some point. It has to.
And to jump on that, use this time to really explore like the different type of genres that you may not have the time or opportunity to try before, right? All right. So with that, we're gonna end our session today. So if you like what you see or hear, do like, subscribe, and comment, and just let us know if you want to reach out to us. If there's anything that you want to tell us at all, you can also reach out to us at editor@GosuGamers.net, and we are also on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. Okay. Yeah. So see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.